probably have seen the video because it did go viral. This was the Rolex heist is what I'm going to call it. Really brazen, happened in the middle of the day. People were walking down the street right on Michigan Avenue when this happened. You saw the suspect smash the glass, grab the watches, hop in a car and take off, eventually really leading police on a chase, but they were able to track them down. And now they are charged. And joining us now to talk about it is David Williams, Deputy Chief with the Multi-Jurisdiction Bureau for the Cook County State's Attorney's Office. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Let's talk about this because this was pretty brazen, okay? So we can't ignore that fact, but this is not the first time that we've seen something like this unfold in Chicago. Really talk about the damage beyond the glass that a crime like this does in a city like Chicago.
No, unfortunately not. We've had, history of these smash and robs or flash mob robs, as they come in and take over a store. But the damage they do to businesses and the danger to employees of those businesses, consumers who goes in those businesses, how much they steal. But it goes even beyond the initial theft that happens here that costs businesses across America hundreds of millions of dollars in theft that is pushed on the consumers, lost state tax revenue, so many different things, but also what these crimes finance. The people go in and commit these crimes and steal, and then they take it and they use it for narcotics, for drugs, for guns, and other violence that it supports. So this is the beginning of the cycle of crime that continues, and this is partly where it starts.
David, let's talk about how you were able to get these 6 offenders charged. Are all 6 charged? And are these charges that can stick? Because that is something that we have heard in terms of people, backing, kind of going against when these people are arrested. Oh, they'll be out in a couple of days. Are these charges that will actually stick and these people will be held responsible?
Yes. I can't talk to specifics of any ongoing case, but I will say they are charged. They've been through first appearance court. Obviously, there'll be a determination whether they'll be held in custody, and then it'll be put to trial if it goes that far. But we will pursue it aggressively within the full aspect of the law. In fact, because these crimes are so related to violence and other things happening in the city, the state's attorney has been incredibly proactive and aggressive in going after these criminals for what they do. And the first day in office, she had a change in policy in which we prosecute these retail thefts and thefts to the full extent of the law as felony prosecutions.
Are you, David, I know you're in this position and I don't want to put you on the spot here, but this was pretty serious. This was, bright outside, broad daylight. The police helicopter had to be used to really track this vehicle as well. Are you shocked by how brazen these thieves have become? Because we've seen this happen here in our city, but we see it happen in LA. They walk in, they grab the bags, they grab, jewelry or whatever and walk right out. Are you shocked to see this kind of repeated narrative happening over and over again, not just here, but in major metropolitan cities?
Yeah, I think it's horrible. It's a danger to all these cities, especially we have this high-end shopping area where people come, tourists come to view our city, people come from the suburbs downtown where they feel they can safely shop in the stores, high-end stores, and the brazen attacks really do so much damage to the businesses and the business districts in our areas, and that's why I think the state attorney has taken such a strong stand on these types of crimes, these actions that happen in our city and in our county. And we've also built a new bureau, the Multi-Jurisdiction Bureau. So we team up with jurisdictions not only locally but across the nation. This past May, the Cook County State's Attorney's Office, in conjunction with the Cook County Retail Organized Crime Task Force, which is a public-private partnership of law enforcement and as well as the private sector retailers, working together, led by the prosecution, to battle these crimes. And we brought together 30 states around the nation to focus a national blitz on the day to go after these types of thieves, these type of attack, and led to more than 700 arrests around the nation, led again by the Cook County State's Attorney's Office and CC Rock.
Something that you mentioned there I found very interesting. You talked about how you're joining forces essentially with other areas because we have seen, I remember it was a couple, I want to say they were out of Minnesota. I may be wrong on the location, but they had like this Lululemon theft crime ring essentially where they were stealing all across the country. And we know it's happened. Of course, we're talking about Chicago, but we know this has happened in Oak Brook and places like that as well. Why do you think this just keeps happening over and over again, especially when you say it harms businesses? And in some cases, we've seen businesses pull out of communities because their insurance goes up, because they can't, take the risk of keeping their employees safe.
I think it takes a proactive effort by working together with partnerships, the private sector, as well as law enforcement and prosecution, that we're all working together as one to go after these criminal enterprises, not just when they go in the stores, but also what they're doing with the products, going after how they're financing their organizations, going after how they're profiting from organizations. And that's why we are crossing across jurisdictional borders, working with our state and federal partners, working with jurisdictions across the country to identify these groups wherever they go and however they act, to be able to go after them in whatever way we can legally.
David, when I think about Rolex, we've seen obviously people break into some of the high-end stores for purses and things like that. But when I think of a Rolex, I think of a very select group of people in our community that can even afford, the typical price of a Rolex. Who are they selling this stuff to? Where are they posting or trying to sell this stolen merchandise off to someone for somebody to even buy it?
Yeah, so you see a lot of now online sales. So obviously there's a huge marketplace that you can sell things online. Other things get shipped internationally to be sold. We've seen containers of stolen products going internationally, which is another level of this criminal activity, is that it doesn't just go to finance local criminal groups, but we've seen it going to finance international crime groups and even terrorist groups. And it was just that this stealing, this theft that happens locally finances criminal activities nationally and globally.
Yeah, I'm looking at just the write-up and remembering this story. If I'm not mistaken, the vehicle exited off of I-94 and 51st Street. The offenders hit a parked car, at least in this particular case of the Rolex. They exit. Police then can take them into custody. Then they tried to run, but they were taken into custody. What is it about this crime? Because I don't know this to be true, but when I think about it, David, I think that if you're selling this on a secondary marketplace, like a Facebook marketplace or something like that, and the watches, let's say typically would be $50,000, they're not making $50,000 when they resell this. Why are they doing this? What is the whole, attraction to it? Because I've seen it happen. Literally, I was walking right here off of Lake Street one day, actually ran off and stayed almost, and I saw somebody run into even a Ross store. You don't think of a Ross store as someplace where someone would just walk in, grab a whole bunch of stuff and run out. But it happened right before my eyes. And you know what? I noticed a lot of people were recording. They didn't call police. We've almost got immune to this. Even in this Rolex situation, you see people walking down the street, and I think they're kind of like in shock. Nobody picks up their phone. What do you make of all of that?
Yeah, I think it's endemic, is that it continues to happen. And the answer to your first question about, how much you can sell it for, every product, if they steal enough of it, they make money. So if they sell a $50,000 Rolex that they've stolen and sell for $10,000 on a secondary market, they've made $10,000. So there's still a high profit margin for them. And any product that they steal, they'll continue to steal and sell. And a lot of times these are professional organized crews, right? It's not just somebody who, by chance of opportunity, sees something and steals. They're every day are stealing, and every week, tens of thousands of dollars of product in order to sell. So it's like their day job is going to steal. And so to take a long view, to do long-term investigations, working with our partners to identify the groups, what they do with it, how they operate, and going after the root of the crime is the best way to attack it.
Let's talk about prevention. Are you guys working at all, maybe with businesses on a local level, to try to figure out a way to prevent this? Because I know some of the stores, especially the high-end stores down here, they have people that appear to be armed. They have people that are working the front door. They have the precautionary measure of one at a time or two people at a time. But it seems like in some cases that's not even enough if they're brazen enough to just break through the window.
Yes, and so as I mentioned before, CC Rock, Cook County State's Attorney Regional Organized Crime Task Force is a private-public partnership. Just in August, we had our annual conference of 600 people from around the country talking about best practices for prevention, best practices for investigation and prosecution of these cases. So I think the solution has to be in everybody working together to battle on the levels that they can, and in the end, coordinating those efforts in order to have a successful prosecution.
You know, David, I've covered a lot of crime here in the city of Chicago, born and raised here as well. And I've seen a fair amount, being on this end of the camera. And some of these offenders, once they go into jail, I've been told this, they like to see themselves on camera. They like to see the news story that's about them. If they're watching, if they find out that, obviously we're having this conversation, what is your message to those criminals?
The message is that we are coordinating, we're getting aggressive, we're being proactive, and we're going after these groups, not only holding them accountable for what they're doing, but also going after the profits they make in doing so. So we'll continue on battling them and working together and getting better at it each time we do.
Yeah, it seems like an ongoing battle. And David, your agency, so the Cook County State's Attorney's Office, when this does go to another state, for example, does that mean that you're reaching out on a federal level to try to get these people prosecuted?
We'll do both. So we team up. We've had cases that we've sent to other counties, collar counties in Chicago, or DuPage and Will and Lake, or they've had a group that they've sent to us to prosecute. That's just locally. We also reach out to and work with counties across the country for local prosecutions, and we work with all of our federal partners to attack these groups wherever they go, whether it's nationally or internationally. So we're sharing that information and working together to go after these groups and hold them all accountable.
David, not trying to get you to talk specifically about this case because I know it's an ongoing still investigation, but in terms of someone being charged for stealing something that is valued at that amount, is that a felony? And what kind of time are we talking about if those people are found guilty and essentially prosecuted?
Right. I mean, there are charged with felonies, and it depends on the amount and value amount. With different value amounts, you can get more time. That you could be sent to prison. So these are all taken extremely seriously. And depending on somebody's criminal background, depending on the value amount, depending on their actions, depending on whether they injured somebody, they threatened other people, it can all lead to additional charges that could increase their potential penalties if found guilty at trial.
David, you mentioned that a lot of these are theft rings where they're doing this, with a coordinated effort. Have you found that some of these people along the way of investigating these crimes are repeat offenders?
Yes, you do find long histories of criminal activity, especially prior burglaries and thefts. As I said, this is a modus operandi for them, that they continue to commit these crimes and often are recidivists.
Yeah. What ultimately, in your professional opinion, and maybe even based on the work that is being done now in that office, I don't think this is something that will forever go away, but to kind of chip away where you see it less and less happening, what do you think needs to happen?
I think the things that we're doing now, that we're working together with our partnerships, we're holding people accountable for their actions. We're asking that people be detained if appropriately, and that people know that they can't just get away with stealing. They can't get away with committing violence, that we're going to go after them, whether they're stealing cars, whether they're buying guns, whether they're stealing, whatever it is, we're going to have to do them for their particular crime.
Yeah, I think that's the way to do it. Let the message be known that if you do it, you will be found and you will be charged. David Williams, Deputy Chief, Multi-Jurisdiction Bureau of the Cook County State's Attorney's Office. Thank you so much for spending some time with us today here on Chicago Live. We appreciate you.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.